Hi, film addicts. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a special guest, Janeane Bernstein. She's a writer, actor, radio host, and speaker who's really passionate about mental health and self-care. Her book, Get the Funk Out and Bleep Bleep happens, and she's also been working on this fantastic streaming series called Outside the Box. Let's welcome her to the show. Janeane, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. And I'm a huge fan of your show. I guess we would say I'm an addict already.
That's great. And Janeane, where are you recording live today from?
Yeah, I'm here in Orange County, and I've lived here since 2000.
Oh, great, great. Because our listeners out there have some major snow going on. We're in February, so we're wishing them well. And so you have done so many things from your screenplays, Birdie, Wild, and Finding Miss Katie. So let's find out how it all started with one of your favorite films growing up as a kid. What was one of them?
Well, when I think back, and I hadn't told you this, but Willy Wonka. I loved how imaginative and the characters and the acting and how it kind of unfolds and you never know. It's filled with surprises. So I'd have to say that one growing up.
Oh yeah, Willy Wonka. I loved all those characters, like from the little girl who was spoiled to the underdog who got the ticket to his chocolate paradise.
Exactly. The girl that turns into a blueberry.
yeah. So, and it made you want chocolate. Oh my gosh, the best chocolate ever. So yeah, because we just finished Valentine's Day because we're shooting in Valentine's. So that's amazing. And you also have another film that you like. Can you tell us about Hidden Figures?
You know, I absolutely love this film. I've watched it so many times with Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe. You know, I feel like it was just so powerful seeing the history of the team of female African-American mathematicians who played this really powerful role in NASA. And, you know, I didn't even know about these different characters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's amazing that like a lot of people learn history by watching film. So, you know, it plays an educational role. And that's like one of the things about films. You can get your history lessons. And I'm addicted to like World War history. And one of
nice.
Yeah, one of the people I work with is Colin Heaton, and he has so many amazing books on war. So yeah, and it's just better cliff notes to watch the film or documentary,
Definitely.
right?
Yes.
But so you, yeah. So in so you know here and on our show we love master filmmakers, especially those in the Criterion Collection. I just wanted to ask you, do you have like one of your favorites that you want to share with us today?
You know, I was thinking back on this, and I know I have great memories of watching broadcast news. And I just feel like it really addresses like these complexities of relationships at work. And I loved how it shows like the flip side of the characters versus their personal life and their work life. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Who was the actor in that? They were
William Hurt.
Oh, okay,
Holly
yeah.
Hunter.
Oh yeah. That was a good one. And then so you also have a director who is a female that's one of your favorites.
I do. Ava DuVernay. Oh my gosh. You know, I can't even say like there's one film that stands out. There are so many, from A Wrinkle in Time to Selma. She's just such a huge talent that inspires so many people.
Yeah. So I want a lot of our guests on the show, we always have always said male directors. So I'm so happy that we have Ava DuVernay, and I love the way you pronounce it so beautifully. So yeah, she's a spectacular female director and an inspiration to people like me and our listeners who want to be female directors. So I hope that we are you know, bringing up new, you know, directors who have that passion, that talent, and that gift. It's so rewarding to see people make fantastic films. So also, you have a favorite scene in the movie. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, Hidden Figures, yes. So I absolutely love the bathroom scene when Kevin Costner asks Taraji, why are you taking so long in the bathroom every day? And it's humiliating, you know, and she comes in and she's all wet because the weather is awful outside, but she has to go to the bathroom, which is so far away, because she has to go to the one for colored people. And she confronts him and she raises her voice because it's a room full of white men. And then she tells him why she takes 40 minutes every day to, you know, go to the bathroom, because he doesn't understand it. And the bottom line is he goes out with a metal pole and he starts banging the heck out of the colored bathroom sign. And he ends the scene with, you know what, there's one bathroom because we all pee the same color.
Nice. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Well, there are, when you go to places, there's the VIP bathroom. So I guess there is two bathrooms still. So yeah, yeah. So right. So which is, another thing in itself. But also, but you
Really?
had a movie that is one of my favorites too, because one of my favorite directors as well. Can you tell us about the Black Panther scene?
You know, I really, really love this film. I hadn't seen very many films with Chadwick Boseman, but he was mesmerizing. There's a scene with T'Challa, his character, versus Killmonger, and it's this powerful, emotional fight scene, and it's so unexpected at the end. And, you know, I'm rooting for him, and I don't know what's going to happen. And the characters are just so powerful and breathtaking to watch.
Yeah, I saw on YouTube he has where he literally like plans out with little dolls and like little action figures and stuff where he has a whole scene storyboarded with like action figures and I'm like, oh, that's such a
Yes,
great technique, for anyone learning to direct is like you have like all your little you have your storyboard and then you actually move the people around and have those scene. I was just like, oh, like kind of like
very smart.
architecture where they have a mini design of the building so they can see it. So I learned a
Yes,
lot from that too because it's amazing how we can learn from each other and such a great movie and
I agree. I
uh,
agree. Let me just add one thing about that movie is I love the female characters in that movie. I just love the chemistry with the characters.
yeah. And as an actor, what role would you have loved to have done?
There is a movie that inspired me so much in so many ways, even as a screenwriter, but it's Whip It. And I could totally see myself in that movie with Ellen Page. It was directed by Drew Barrymore and it was so fantastic. Kristen Wiig was in it. And it was great.
Oh yeah, the roller derby tournament movie. That's amazing. And
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so you have like a favorite line from a movie. Can you share that with our audience today?
I do. You know, I always laugh when I watch anything by Robin Williams, but when he played Mrs. Doubtfire and he says to Sally Field's love interest in this, you know, old lady voice, well, I hope you're up for a little competition. She's got a power tool in the bedroom, dear.
Yeah, what a brilliant talent. Like, oh my God,
Oh,
the talent we're
I
talking
love
about
him.
today is just like so incredible and such sad just, just amazing loss to
Oh, I know.
to the art world. So just, we happen to be talking about a lot of people that are no longer with us but who are true standout talents and
Yes.
yeah, so my one friend is like, you only have 10,000 days, Marilyn. You only have 10,000 days. He's an investor, and I'm like, 10,000 days. He goes, yes, to do whatever you want to make sure you're making it a good one. So I'm like, you're stressing me out. But so and you have like a fun character. What's your favorite character in a movie?
You know, this again, it goes back to Black Panther, hands down. I love T'Challa's smart, techie little sister, Shuri. Um, and she was just so brilliant. Her real name is Letitia Wright. She's just had these fantastic lines. She's just really spunky and smart.
Yeah, and so I want to ask. So everyone, how did you start your career path?
Well, I got into acting kind of in a accidental way. I was working in corporate training and I worked on a project at Hewlett Packard and I designed this thing where we needed a narrator on camera and then some voiceover and nobody wanted to do it. So I said, fine, I'll do it because I had listened to a lot of voiceover demos and been on other projects. So long story short, I did it. And I went to a Syracuse University alumni luncheon my dad convinced me to go to. And I met this actress, this older actress who was very well known. And she said, "What do you do?" And I told her, and she says, "You don't seem like you really enjoy what you're doing." I said, "I actually don't." And I said, "I always wanted to go into voice acting." She looked at me and she says, "Sweetheart, you're too young to settle for something that doesn't really make you happy. I want you to call my teacher today." And she was so adamant. So I did. And that's when I started studying voiceover. And then I went to a casting company in Boston, studied on camera acting, and I was completely hooked. And from there, I just kept going.
Yeah, and you got signed with an agent, and just things
Yes.
just started clicking. So, and you were in Boston at that time, right? That's where you were living in Boston.
Right. And I was just prepared that I would just go into voiceover when I got to California in 2000. But I met an agent, Marianne Burzon, and she was wonderful. And she said, "Sweetheart, you need to do a lot of different things. Don't just do voiceover." So I just said, okay. Figured she had some faith in me. And I just ended up working on all different projects and auditioning and just being open to the possibilities. It was great.
And can you tell us about your lifetime television commercial to share like what it's like on a set and the little sneaky surprises they pull on the actors to
Oh my
get
gosh.
to get authentic reactions? I love this. I love this.
It was so funny. I remember auditioning for this and the casting director kind of looking at me and giving me a smile. And I thought, oh, don't get your hopes up. But then they called me and they said I booked it. And they didn't really tell us much. They said it was going to be this commercial for Lifetime Television, and there'd be a family birthday scene, and I was a mom. And so we're outside, we're having a great time, and all of a sudden there's a cake that comes down, and we're singing happy birthday. And this little, beautiful, adorable blonde girl comes over. She's supposed to be my daughter. And she wails on the cake, like beats the heck out of this cake. And we're all like, what? And we're laughing hysterically. And they wanted to not tell us to get that authenticity. And I thought it was great.
Oh my gosh. You're like, the actor has gone AWOL.
I know. No kid. I think we had cake all over us.
Oh my gosh. It sounds kind of fun too. But
Yeah.
and then can you tell us some of your most difficult you know, disappointments or challenging times on your path to actor, writer, book
Sure.
author, producer?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I feel like for me, I've dabbled in many different things. And I wrote my first script in 94, and it was a really lousy script. I was feeling some loss. I'd actually just lost my mom. And I wrote this script, and it was a mix of fiction, nonfiction, but it was crap. So I put it aside. And when I moved to Boston, I again got the agent. And I remember taking workshops with casting directors. And one in particular said something that really stayed with me. It was, you need to have a full life. Don't just go into an audition and come across as desperate or I've got to get this, because it shows. It definitely shows. And it made such an impression on me. I started doing other things, whether it was radio, on camera, voiceover, and just being open and not going in feeling like I've got to nail this, just doing the best and walking away.
That's such great advice. I love that. So have a full life. And you do. Can you tell us about your books? Like would like to hear a little bit more about your books.
Sure. So I have to back up because the book came about because of the radio show, and the radio show called Get the Funk Out came about because I lost a friend of mine at the end of 2010. She was my best friend from childhood. It was crushing. So I took a year off from radio, and I ended up thinking, you know what, I don't want to do my music show anymore. I was hosting a 3-hour music show called Moms Rock the House. I would like to do a talk show. Came up with the idea of Get the Funk Out as my show, and I would kind of move through my grief, but I would have other people share their stories of things they had gone through and how they moved through their grief. So it was like me learning from them and giving them a platform. And then along the way, I thought, these stories are unbelievable. They are great lessons. Why don't I see if people want to be in a book? So I had met somebody that wrote for Forbes and now the New York Times, and I talked to her because she's very successful, and she gave me the name of her editor, and one thing led to another. And my book came out in 2019.
Oh, amazing. So can you repeat that for our listeners so they can look at that book? Because it sounds like it's really encouraging and lovely, like a companion to be there
It
for
is.
people that are going through a rough time.
Okay, yeah, I really believe it is. And that was the whole point of it, that it could be my own stories, but 24 stories from my show guests and life lessons and some skill sets. And for any age, it can be for teens, seniors, adults, whatever. So if you Google Get the Funk Out and you put my name, Janeane Bernstein, you will find this book because it's everywhere. It's on Amazon, it's on Audible. I voiced the book. And it's really called Get the Funk Out. Bleep happens, but I won't say it. What to do next? But it's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, that's what, like, on my podcast, Enchanting Book Readings, is really helping families and kids that are having a hard time with depression. And I had no idea that it would be ranking number one almost every week since I started the
Yay.
podcast. Yeah, yeah. So I felt that I had like a purpose, making this great kids content every week for these kids. And like when the pandemic first started happening, my first ranking was top 8 in Italy. They had no idea that I was actually born in Italy and my mom's Italian. So it really stirred up my heart that these kids and families were relying on, that entertainment for their kids stuck at home away from their friends and family, to where now I hit number 3 in Italy. So thank you. But like your
Great.
book right now, and also the other podcasts like Filmatics, is a way that we can connect with our filmmakers, because people were depressed and down and having a hard time and struggling. So your book is just amazing out there. It's kind of like, it sounds to me like a little chicken soup for the depressed soul, and it sounds wonderful. It sounds really wonderful. So I'm so happy.
And I want to interject one thing. I love what you're doing, because this show and all the other things you're doing bring a lot of positivity to people. And that's one of the reasons I love screenwriting, is because I can be as imaginative as anything. I mean, I just look at life, even if I'm taking a walk, and I can see characters or come up with stories. And I think now's the time to be creative and use this time to really explore your ideas.
Yeah, can you tell us how you were inspired by your screenplay? You wrote Birdie, Wild, and Finding Mrs. Katie. Can you tell us a little bit about those screenplays?
Sure. Well, the first one, Birdie, is a feature, and I worked on it for a very long time. And I actually started it at UC Irvine when I enrolled in the screenwriting program. And I took all of their classes, everything they offered. And by the end, I had a completed screenplay, feature script. And basically, it's a dramedy. It's a skateboarding dramedy. And it's really funny. There's this teenager who doesn't have a lot of friends. She actually is missing a leg. She had a childhood accident. And her arch rival is her cousin, who convinces her to join a skateboarding tournament, which you look at her and go, how are you going to skateboard? You have one leg. And she ends up having to do community service in a retirement home. And she had run over this little old lady on her skateboard one day. So the woman befriends her, and it's this relationship between a younger generation, an older generation, and how they root for one another. And it's a beautiful film. I got into a festival. I'm looking to do a rewrite and market the script. It's a feel-good film. And then the other ones are shorts I wrote during the pandemic. Wiley really stands for When You Least Expect It. It's the story between a teenage girl who's just broken up with her girlfriend, and the relationship she has with her grandmother. And the grandmother wants to escape her retirement home and go on a road trip unexpectedly, which is really cool.
I love that. A little Thelma and Louise action in there. Woohoo! Break out of that old folks home. I love that. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Kind of based on my own grandmother. She was like, let's get out of here. I'm like, where do you want to go? Anywhere, just out of here.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic. A Little Miss Sunshine road trip with grandma. I love it.
Got it.
Yeah, so during COVID, COVID has affected so many people, but during lockdown, you actually were writing. So it actually encouraged you to write. You were also doing public speaking as well, right?
I am. What happened was when the book came out, I was asked to do public speaking about the themes of the book. So taking care of your mental, physical, and emotional health. And I led a big event here at UC Irvine at the Bren Center about the science of happiness. And it was fantastic. I had a panel of other people in the field of positive psychology. And then once we hit the pandemic in March and then April, I was asked to do these remote talks, which led me talking to students of all ages from middle school, high school, college, and now adults about how do we really take care of ourselves and stay resilient right now.
That's incredible. That's really incredible. And so did you some of your hobbies, can you tell people one of the hobbies that you learned to do during COVID?
Okay, so years ago when I was younger, I really wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle, and I hopped on this really small bike. I didn't understand the clutch, and I kind of fell off the back of it. That was the end of that. But in the pandemic, I started thinking like, what's your bucket list, Janeane? What do you want to do? And I had seen this 3-wheel motorcycle, the Can-Am Riker, and I found out that there's a college nearby that hosts these safety classes. And so I immediately signed up. I went and rode this 1200cc powerhouse of a bike. It was crazy. I loved every minute of it. And I thought, okay, what's next? Well, I signed up for the motorcycle class. It was a 2-day intensive. And it was really an amazing thing to do during COVID.
I love that. Your next one's gonna be moms riding motorcycles. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you are just such amazing actor talent, voiceover talent, public speaker, book author, screenplay writer, and I love your subject matter, which is so many people will love that. And also, can you tell us about your new project that's coming up for you, the streaming show, Outside of the Box, right?
Yes, Outside the Box. So last year, I started this series called Outside the Box, and I wanted to address the needs of, here we have over 40 million people out of work, and what kind of content could I provide them? And I started interviewing industry experts who would offer advice and insight into how do you find a job remotely, or maybe you need to pivot. So I interviewed people, and then it occurred to me, you know what? Why aren't you helping this younger generation, the students in middle school, high school, college who lost their internships, lost their job opportunities? Maybe they wanted to work in film and TV. What are they going to do? Who are they going to turn to? So I shifted and I created the blueprint for this mentoring series on Outside the Box. And I'm lining up a whole bunch of people, industry experts, filmmakers, whoever, who want to help. And so we're going to have these online panel discussions with students.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's beautiful. If you need me, let me know, because that's just so incredible to help, being a mentor. And sometimes it's really hard because, like, that's the one thing, like, on Film Addicts and Girls Guide to Investing, most of the guests have said that they were able to find a mentor that helped them and encouraged them and
Exactly.
gave them that little notch up the ladder. And I think it's important that we really encourage mentors for females or people that just don't have that person in their life or that connection. So that's really empowering. Congratulations. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And so where can our listeners keep up with you and find out what you're doing and support your films and go check out what you're working on next?
Sure. Well, if they go to my website, and I'll spell it, it's JaneaneBernstein.com, JaneaneBernstein.com. Everything is there about me.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So I'm just so happy that you had the time to come on our show today. It's just been fantastic having you, Janeane.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And thank you, Film Addicts, for listening. Until next week, stay healthy and cheers.